There was this old commercial from Kohler, which I thought was fabulous. I mean, I think old, right? I think it's from the 90s or the early aughts, which I guess is 20 years ago. There is a couple that is being walked around the office by an architect. He's pitching to try and get a new client. Ultimately, they get to his office, and the woman literally just takes out a faucet from her purse, plops it down on the table in front of him, and says,
Design a house around this.
it might seem counterintuitive or simplistic or just stupid advice, but I'm here to give you the exact same advice. You are overwhelmed and you don't know how to choose and what's going on and where to start because you aren't starting with one thing. So, I'm starting this series just for you to help you see that by designing around one object, one memory, one texture, one whatever, choose one thing that really speaks to you, and I promise everything else will fall into place. It's like magic. It becomes so easy after that because you will establish your design language around that one thing. Let's get started. And I'm on a roll. Every day I go pick up my kid, and on the way home, I've been driving past this shop, and this thing keeps catching my eye. I need to design a space around this cat. Design and art is difficult because it is so subjective. One man's trash is another woman's treasure. And so today I'm focusing on what might literally have been trash at one point. These things are kind of cool, right? Like they're tattered, they're worn, they clearly have some history. I'm sure there's a story behind them. But ultimately, I am intrigued because the things that we hold dear, the things that we collect, the things that spark our imagination and draw attention are the exact same things we should be designing around. What if we had to design a room based around this cat? And to drive home the point I'm trying to make, that you can literally design a room around anything and that your room should be an extension of you, I'm going to design the same room and put everything in more or less the same spot, but design it for two completely different people. When I first saw this cat, I initially thought of Taylor Swift. She's infamous for loving cats and knowing all the names of cats.
Go. Scottish Fold, Ragdoll, Ragamuffin, Maine Coon, British Shorthair, Exotic Shorthair, American Shorthair, Devon Rex, Cornish Rex, Sphinx Cat, Abyssinian, Persian, Siberian, Burmese, Norwegian Forest Cat, Hulsa Cat, Bengal, Bombay Cat, Russian Blue. Is there a British Blue?
I literally own a cat. I am the parent to a cat, and I have no idea what kind of cat it is. She's super cute, but cat. That is all I know. Dog, I can tell you different breeds. Once I established that Taylor was one of the people I was going to design a room for, then I had to think about who would be a good counterpart to her. Who is the yin to her yang? I thought of Dita. Dita Von Teese and Taylor Swift have actually been in one of Taylor Swift's music videos together. So clearly there's a mutual respect, right? I also thought of Dita because of her love of animals, but animals without a heartbeat.
These are some of my favorite taxidermy in the house. These are Victorian era bird taxidermy in these heart-shaped domes. Every time I've moved house, which is 3 times in the past 20 years, I hand carry those myself because if somebody ever shattered those, I would be devastated.
She infamously loves taxidermied animals and uses them extensively in her decor. So I think that's a pretty cool dichotomy, right? You're looking at 2 women, strong, resilient, intelligent, successful, pretty badass women, yet they couldn't be any more different in what they would choose to put into their homes. So let's start. During later years of high school and earlier years of college, I was into Sex and the City. I love the show. I was obsessed. My cousin once said I was a Samantha, which I don't agree with, although she's pretty freaking hilarious. I'm more of a Miranda type.
She shoe shamed me. I left there covered in shame. She's a bitch.
But That aside, when thinking about a room, I initially thought, okay, let's design Carrie Bradshaw's bedroom. A lot of us understand innately what that bedroom is like. So I went online. I found an actual floor plan of Carrie Bradshaw's room that was reproduced. And this will be our jumping off point. When I'm teaching somebody how to transform their own space, you always need to start with the bare bones, the room. It's the walls, the floor, and the ceiling, doors, windows, whatever is there, the built in stuff that's not moving. First step is to literally go in SketchUp and model the room. I don't know for sure the dimensions, but I'm completely going off of this floor plan that I found. I scale it down based on the exterior door as a reference. By code, most exterior doors to your unit or an apartment are 3 feet wide. I mean, this could be a little off, but I'm starting with something, right? We just want a shell that we can then go in and start to modify. Once I have my shell, I'm going to start with Dita. I did some research on Dita. Mostly, I looked at her Architectural Digest episode where she literally walked us through her house. That gave me a ton of insight into what she likes and her history. She speaks very openly about why she chooses things and the things that she finds really important and so on.
I started wearing vintage clothes because I couldn't afford all the cool designer jeans my friends had. And then that kind of spilled over into collecting vintage and antique things for my home.
And this is the process. Design language, again, super important. If you don't have your design language, which is basically the guidelines that will inform what you are looking for in your specific space, then you will become overwhelmed. When thinking about Dita, after doing the research, after looking at her amazing space, might not be for you, might not be for me, but it clearly is for her, and I love it. This is Dita's design language guideline. The styles that are in line with her aesthetic are Art Deco, Art Nouveau, Maximalist, which she herself admitted, and I'm going to say glam. Like, this girl is the epitome of glamorous. So we have styles. Next is colors. When you think of Art Deco, and this is why it's important to start understanding the associations, things that are connotations or already part of something else. Once you have one thing established, everything else kind of falls in line as a domino effect. So if we're going with the Art Deco, Art Nouveau style, you're thinking jewel tones, you're thinking faceted items, you're thinking greens, blues, and red. They're richer, deeper colors. And in her case, I'm going to be using more of a darker brown, darker red wood tones. And those are more inspired or referenced in terms of her affinity for Chinese motifs, Chinese furniture, which leads us to her shapes. Faceted is when something has many sides and they're all connected. When you think of a really ornately cut diamond, that has all those little sides are facets of it. And something that is faceted is very indicative of the Art Deco style. Okay, so aside from that, we want curves, right? Dita is all about curves. There isn't anything rectangular in her, like with sharp rectangular lines in any of her spaces. Generally, you want something that's got either a bevel or a curved edge, something that's a bit more rounded. And in general, rounded shapes, curves, those are imbued with a ton of more sensuality, sexuality to them. Anything rigid and square and rectangular is much more modern, which is not the aesthetic that we're trying to define here. And finally, textures. So the design guidelines that we have are styles, colors, shapes, and textures. Textures for Dita are going to be velvets, silk, feathers, tassels. These are the things that she herself has really gravitated towards. A, obviously because of her job, if she's a burlesque dancer and performer. But B, again, they're in line with the sensuality, sexuality, regality of the Art Deco style and of that glam. She's all about glamour. Think old Hollywood, think earlier 20th century. Keeping those in mind, this is the room we came up with, and here is why. In Plan, you can see that we've created 3 different nodes, and this is what you should be thinking about for your room. When you walk into a space and it doesn't feel finished, it's because they haven't thought about the balance of that room. Think about it as a box on a scale. You want to make sure that you've thought about putting things on different areas of the room to create kind of symmetry and visual balance. So we have a bed node, we have an art or lighting node over here by the window where we have the cat, the object that we started with. And then we have, in Dita's case, a makeup node. Here is the floor lamp node with the cat. We've got the velvet drapes and Art Deco valance, upholstered, really textured wallpaper. And in terms of maximalism, we've really decked out this entire wall with artwork that she would appreciate. We have a half round red table and this custom Art Deco motif cut out of plywood and painted with brass metal strips between it. This is the desk with the rounded profile to create more of that sexual makeup area. And we've got some floating shelving here that highlights that brass strip as well. Everything you see in these renderings is not exactly what I have chosen out for this space, but it gives you more or less a sense of scale and style and color. So for example, the floor lamp is actually something different, more like this. The sconce next to the bed is different, and the bed itself, found some amazing, an amazing duvet cover that is actually what I am speccing for the space. But the beauty of SketchUp is that you can find something fairly comparable to make sure that the room works, so that you're not purchasing something completely blind. And then just understanding color, size, scale, proportion, things like that. I know AI has become incredibly popular for people, the layman person, in terms of trying to understand what you can put in your room, but I'm here to tell you that that only goes so far. If you can go through this process and use the SketchUp and really understand exactly what you're going to put in your space, it will bring a completely heightened level of confidence in what you are designing and making sure that it works for your exact space. On the other hand, we have Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift, woman in her own right, powerhouse, amazing performer, but completely different, right? She herself has admitted that she is not ever going to be the sexy, cool it girl.
My life doesn't gravitate towards being edgy, sexy, or cool. I just naturally am not any of those things.
What
And
are
so
you in your head? What are you?
I'm imaginative, I'm smart, and I'm hardworking.
Her design language, in terms of styles, colors, shapes, and textures, we're looking at more of a provincial French country as her main foundational aesthetic, her main foundational interior style. There's also a bit of a farmhouse chic and a traditional lean towards what she chooses to incorporate in her design. Her colors are a much more muted palette. We're going to be looking mostly at like a beige and a sage green, and then your gold and brass accents. In terms of shapes, we are looking more at rectangles with some slightly rounded. If you think about the French provincial country, it is more ornate, rounded items, but it's definitely not going to be as curvy as we would have chosen for Dita. Finally, the textures. For Taylor, we're going to be looking at cane, wood, leather, and linen. These are much more traditional textures. They're much simpler and salt to the earth, utilitarian, but with a slight romantic flair to it. For the room, we focused on creating 3 different nodes. We've got our bed node, we've got the cat artwork lamp node, and then we have a makeup area. In Taylor's, I incorporated more into a bookshelf / makeup area because makeup for her wouldn't be as much of a priority as it is for Dita. And in your own space, you really should be thinking about that too. How do you live? What do you prioritize? How do you function in your space? I'm making an assumption that Taylor would like to curl up and read a good book, as opposed to Dita, who would more maybe focus and work on her makeup and her overall look and making sure that she's really put together well. And here is Taylor Swift's inspired room. As you can see, Taylor's room is much simpler, more pared down in terms of aesthetic, as opposed to Dita's maximalist view on interior design. What we did incorporate here was a either custom painted mural or a wallpaper that we can put on the ceiling that has a forest or countryside depicted, and really gradiates from a green to a white or kind of beigey color in the sky. And as in Dita's, everything that we have here is not exactly the same as was specified. But again, we are going through the exercise of using this specific software, SketchUp, which is free for smaller projects, and really understanding size, scale, proportion, and putting the exact things that we want to see into the room that we want to create. The bookshelf node is a perfect example of this. The furniture I found was much too small for the room, and so instead we created a custom nook with drywall and wood from floor to ceiling. By no means am I here to say that one room is better than the other. I'm here to show you that you can have the same constraints in the size of the room. You can have the same constraints in budgets. Both of these rooms came in at less than $3,500. And yet, you can really personalize your space and find something that works for you. It's crazy how many of us are existing in our houses without taking the time or effort or even fully understanding that we have the ability to create home. And for me, home stands for healing, ownership, meaning, and ease. You need those four things to live and thrive within your space. It's time for you to find home within your house. In this video, we focused more on how you establish your design language from the things that you like. We didn't so much delve into how I specifically chose these things, aside from going with that language. But if you're interested in the items that we implemented in either Dita's room or Taylor's, check the link in the comments and I will send you the PDF.